Yeah, so general trends in technology that I see, well, obviously my client base, personal client base is in the UK in financial services, although in my IT advisory leadership role globally for KPMG, I see trends across the globe. So where would I get to on key trends? I think one thing we're seeing in financial services, an increasing focus on regulatory compliance. The credit crunch and the aftermath of the credit crunch has brought a renewed focus on tougher regulation and evidencing that regulatory compliance is in place, all of which needs technology to enable it in today's environment. So massive focus on some large foundational programs of change which are all around addressing some of these regulatory issues. More broadly, I think something that is not just financial services, but is across all industries. There's a growing focus on data management, use of data, information management, and decisioning based on that. And there's a number of things there that are causing a concern, the explosion of data over the last several years. Not just the structured data, but with social networking, the unstructured data, and how to capture that and use it, and sometimes control it and manage it, because that data has the power to bring organisations down as well as to help them to grow. I think cloud obviously is a phenomenon people are getting their mind around. Large organisations, I don't think, really have seen anything like the utility they can get out of cloud, and I think over the next several years we'll see cloud move away from cloud platforms associated with relatively straightforward, back office functions, mainly focused on small to medium-sized organisations, into industry-specific solutions focused on the larger organisations. So what might be quite interesting, for example, in financial services, regulatory compliance on anti-money laundering is a really big issue. So when are we going to see the first cloud-delivered solution that can plug and play into an environment that will deal with a lot of the compliance around that? Now, that might seem like a pipe dream at the moment, but I think it's these things that will be the real trends going forward. And for me, I think that means that the challenges for the Indian outsourcers are to move from what's been really successful technology transformation capability to business transformation capability. I think that's what cloud will translate into for the users. We've seen a lot in this conference about what it means to providers of cloud services. I think actually a more interesting way to look at it is for the users of the people that are going to demand these services, what does it mean for them? And it means it'll be more demanding. They'll want quicker solutions. They'll want it to plug and play into the environments that they have. They'll want a different economic model to pay for it, so pay per use rather than capital models. And I think that's, to me, the real challenge, and we'll start to see that coming into larger organisations going forward. On demand. I think there will be on-demand services, but I think it'll be more fundamental than that. I think that a service-oriented architecture has to grow up and really be focused around business services and processes rather than being a technology solution. I think for that will mean that if you look at the way that businesses will work through their technology roadmap going forward, I guess an analogy might be not dissimilar to a user with their iPad going onto an app store and deciding which applications they need to download in order to make up the full set of services they personally want to use, which means more upfront investment in these niche solutions in sectors, so they come to market in an ability where they fit into a well-proven architecture and plug and play into them. And it will mean that the traditional skills, which have been focused on taking environments and tailoring them with heavy emphasis on some of the coding and configuration work that's been done, will slowly become redundant. So I think it may take many years to play out, but I think the direction of travel, I think, has been set. And that to me is less focused on just on demand. Well, I think that's really important for small organizations. The larger organizations, it's more about how are they going to manage their technology roadmap going forward in a far more nimble way, with far less emphasis on capital expenditure, in a way that, you know, more rapidly meets the evolving needs of the business. Because at the moment, a lot of these technology roadmaps are carved, you know, at a particular point in time and quickly become out of date, become slow and ponderous to implement, and somehow miss the point of what they were trying to deliver at the start. I think because it remains a technology answer rather than a business answer. Now, you know, moving from technology transformation to business transformation, which again I think is a key trend that we're seeing, requires a lot. It doesn't just require a willing business to participate, it requires an education process. So because, you know, in many ways technologists are, you know, more structured, more advanced than the business in how to undertake these journeys, and I think the emphasis is on technology reaching out to the business and helping them understand the way to structure their business transformation roadmaps in a way that's executable. So to me, there's still a massive divide between technology and business in most large organizations. Occasionally you see it being a little bit better in smaller, more nimble organizations, but it demands a far more structured, pervasive and you know, forceful approach to make that you know, to bridge that gap in larger organizations. Well, I think it takes a couple of you know, things. I think, you know, if I look at it from the, you know, large technology companies that, you know, have come and presented at NASCOM, I think they've got an interesting challenge. One, how do they access the capability that gives them the insights into the key industry issues, and how then do they place their bets around the key solutions that will meet these issues? So that's quite interesting in terms of getting the right capability into organizations that are useful used to technology transformation. That's not necessarily just a recruitment exercise. I think they need to think about what their extended enterprise or ecosystem, however you want to term it, what that looks like. Who do they reach out to support them there? It's a more complicated relationship you know, exercise to get these skills. And I guess secondly is, you know, the integration of the technology elements of change with the business elements. There are a number of large organizations that I think have semi-successfully moved to making sure that large technology programs of change, and I can think of several banks in the UK that do this, are actually combined business and technology projects with each work stream a combination of business and technology capability. But I think that needs to continue to move further forward, because I think the balance of if you like, power is still with the technology side of the business, because if you like, their disciplines at some point take over and leave the business behind if we're not careful. Yeah, the CIO is in a really interesting place right now. I think the CIO's job is already changing and will continue to change, and it will put massive demand on that individual. We're going to see the IT sourcing options explode. We'll see the focus on you know, driving the business through enterprise architecture and the service-oriented architecture within that as becoming more important. And if you like, that positions the CIO, if he does this well, as a kind of broker of technology-enabled services to the business. So that means two things. One, that the CIO needs to convince the business that that's the right way to deal with things, which I fundamentally believe it is. You see a lot of press about organizations where, you know, certain functions, whether maybe marketing or HR, have gone to technology providers without reference to their internal IT function. That's going to create a problem going forward, because the architecture won't work. So, you know, I think that there's an education process and process for the CIO to demonstrate that relevance within an organisation. And the second critical thing is the CIO needs to be as close to business strategy and formulating business strategy as any other member of the C-suite. The CIO is no longer an order taker. they will be a source of innovation. They'll understand that the environment, the sourcing options around them. They'll be coming to the CEO and the board with opportunities which are technology driven that the business can take advantage of. So exciting times for those CIOs that can make the transition.